Destyn, welcome to the AI Hospitality Podcast. A pleasure to have you. We had a very delightful conversation in our pre-meeting, and we're excited to share your story and get your perspective and how you see AI evolving or penetrating the hospitality market or sector. Um, so, for those of you that are joining, or for those that are joining, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background, story about how you end up in this fascinating world of hospitality.
Yeah, so it started when I was 16. My first job was in a retirement community, and I worked in the kitchen and the two dining rooms. They had assisted living and independent living. So I helped prep the food, serve the food, take drink orders by drink orders, juice orders, um, and then also dishwashing, cleanup. And that was my first introduction to hospitality and food and beverage. When I was 20, I moved to New York to pursue my dream of Broadway. My goal was to be a star on Broadway. And then a very strange thing happened, like a Lifetime original movie where the actress became a waitress. Well, a hostess to be exact. So I became a hostess. I found that having a steady paycheck was super important to me, and the inconsistency of auditioning and waiting for some sort of gig in that realm just it what didn't sit well for me. Like I needed stability because I didn't come from a family that just supported every whim. Like I had to work for what I had, and so I just found more comfort in that. Work started as a hostess. I was terrible. I got yelled at a lot, and but eventually got better and got great, and then migrated myself into a server position and then a bartender position. Then I moved into a position at Gramercy Tavern, which was definitely the most pivotal um, moment in my career, because what they instill in their staff is unlike any other company I've worked for, and I've worked for a lot in my 30 years in this industry. Um, but when they sat us down for our introduction to the company, Danny Meyer came in, and it was all of the new hires, so orientation, and they went through their values. And their number one most important thing was taking care of each other, which literally was like an out of body experience coming from my previous job where you were told constantly that you were expendable, you're lucky to have a job here, and kind of berated into obedience. And it literally shook me. I'm like, I don't understand what that means. Like it took me a while to comprehend. After that, it was taking care of our vendors, which I still didn't understand. But the idea is if you don't take care of the people that are supplying you, you're not kind to them, you're not uh, on time on your payments for your invoices, they're not going to, when push comes to shove and you're in need, they're not going to come take care of you. And number three was taking care of your guests, with the idea that if number one and number two are not taken care of, there's no way we can ask each person to give their best and take care of our guests if we don't have what we need and we're not taking care of ourselves. So that really kind of set the tone for the trajectory of my career and how I saw myself. I had my first GM job at a small restaurant on the west side in New York City called Trestle on 10th, which is not there anymore. And then I moved to Vegas, and I had a career with the Batali Group for 7 years. I opened two of the restaurants and helped with the third. Um, and then after that, I've worked at the Bellagio in multiple GM positions across the property there. I've worked for Del Frisco's, for Spago, and then most recently, I was at Resorts World uh, for a restaurant called Brezza. It was a former friend and chef that I worked with when I was with Batali that I came on board with, and I was there for about 2 years. So That was like my career, which, I've been very fortunate that I've had so many really strong mentors throughout that. Gramercy Tavern, I had Juliet Pope and Kevin Mahan, Karen King, Michael Montalto with the Batali Group, who really just fed into me. And I definitely wouldn't be here in a leadership position if someone didn't see in me something I didn't see in myself, which was the ability to lead and the ability to move up in my position.
Yeah, amazing, impressive career, by the way. I mean, and you built your career in, I would say, probably one of the top three or five locations in the nation, right? That really showcase hospitality. New York, obviously, is a mecca. Las Vegas, also, it's a the Disney World of entertainment and culinary experiences. Uh,
For sure.
how impact or how did your experience at Gramercy Tavern, right, with Danny Meyer's group, and you talked a little bit about some of the values, right, and the culture that was cemented, right? How pivotal was that for you, for your development, and your fresh approach into let's say conducting yourself in the restaurant business, right, or stepping into leadership roles?
I think if I had stayed the path in a restaurant group that, that that led with fear, that, you know, made their staff feel small, that's what I would have absorbed, right? Because we get very conditioned by our surroundings. Um, what do they say? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? You need to be in a room that pushes you and helps elevate you. And I think if I had stayed that path, I would have been like the countless people I have come across that just don't understand what real leadership is. Um, Being in a group like Gramercy Tavern, it wasn't just that they put out there what their values are. It is something that they truly, down to every employee, every manager, every chef, it is something that they lived, breathed, and passed on, which is very different. You can say all you want to say. I've worked for people who on the outside seem like these saviors, that they're doing such good, but if you actually know them, you understand how toxic and awful the culture really is.
Right.
So to be somewhere at such a formative age, because I would have been 23, I think, 22, 23 when I started at Gramercy Tavern, so very young in life and very young in my career, to be instilled with that idea that you are valued and that we do care about you. And this is how we treat guests, and really understanding what the definition of hospitality is, which people talk about all the time, but don't always really practice. But the amount that they feed into their people in order to feed into their guests, and understanding that that's the big difference between service and hospitality, and where it starts from the culture of the business. That has stayed with me throughout every job that I've had, whether it's as a line level employee or as a leader.
Absolutely. Definitely, I must agree with you. Let's say, throughout your journey and your experiences leading teams, what were the qualities that you were looking for when you were recruiting, your support, right? The people that were you chosen by you to work with you. What are some of the qualities that you really were, let's say, expecting or identifying in some of these candidates?
Um, you know, it's different between line level and leadership, right? I've done countless interviews, and the big thing I look for when I would be interviewing a line level staff member is like, where is their fire, right? What lights them up? Because you're in an interview, it's really easy to just like say this is where I worked and just verbalize your resume, and you're nervous. and you're not really sure what to do or what to say. So trying to put them at ease and find out what makes them light up. And if I can find something that makes them light up and find where their passion lies, then I know that I can get through to them for the other stuff. Because the nuts and bolts of service in a restaurant, anyone can do that. Anyone can do that. But if you want them to engage in the way that you want them to, you have to be able to tap into that fire. So if I can find where, what are they passionate about? Is it movies? Is it their kids? Is it soccer? Is it football? Is it singing? Is it dancing? Like, what is it that I can find that I can see that they have a touch of excitement? It's something that they get excited about. Then I know that we can work from that. And the other big thing is, like, they have to be willing. I would much rather take someone that is super green, but hungry and willing to learn and willing to grow and be moldable than someone that has a 5-page resume of all 5-star Michelin star restaurants, because inevitably a lot of times those people are kind of in that mindset of like, well, I know what to do, and I can't learn anything. And once we stop being able to learn, like, we can't be a part of a growing team, because I myself am always trying to learn. Like, I am imperfect constantly, and you know, but I always try to be humble and accept where I have made faults or where I have gone off path, and reset myself and own it. And I expect the same from those line levels. And then for management, I'd say, you know, just to have a similar, I don't need them to be exactly like me, right? But I need them to value our team as much as I do, because if we value our team, they're going to work harder for us. And if, as a cohesive management team, we're all lifting up the line level staff, it makes everyone's job easier, and everything just flows.
Yeah, I definitely that level of alignment. It's crucial in order to build the right culture and right team and the right environment. Let me ask you about a little bit about your past, since you came from a Broadway background. How much did that help you kind of enter into what I sometimes call, the stage, right? Which is, the restaurant. I mean, we're in a way actors in a way, right? In a play.
We 100% are. We
Yeah.
absolutely, and that's something throughout my career I've heard, and that I have also regurgitated, is like, you're always on stage when you're in a restaurant. Whether or not you're engaging in someone, you're still in the background. If you can be seen by the guests, you are on stage, so you need to be show ready, right? Um, so I think, uh, between my time acting, and then I also did a bit of stand-up comedy. So I think the combination of that allowed me to really think on my toes and engage with people in a way that was like quick on my feet. I could process things that are coming in and relate to whether it's staff or guests in a way that made sense for them. Um, so I think that helped a lot. Um, it's just that ability to just kind of like go be on, I don't know, create the show.
Yeah. Personality is key. I think that if you don't possess it, there's no way that you're going to be successful in this industry. And whether you have that alter ego persona, or let's say that second role that you have once you're on stage, but you definitely must possess or bring out some of that wittiness and personality. So looks like you were very well prepared
Yeah.
indirectly already. So, and fascinating how you began your journey in a retirement community. What did that teach you about people?
Um, even at that age, so I would have been 16. And let me tell you, there are some salty and slightly inappropriate older fellas that kick around in those retirement homes. So At a very young age, I had to figure out how to navigate I remember a time asking, what do you want to drink? You on toast. I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm 16 years old. I don't know. And like figuring that out. But I mean, time management and just that idea that we're all able, like, you just do, it was a small team, so we all did everything. There was no parts of like, that's your job, that's not my job. So it really became a small team that had to execute everything. So had to constantly communicate and work as a team. I mean, I guess that was it. And
How
also
ha-
out of that, everything was much higher level after I got out of that.
Right, I'm sure you were already. I mean, imagine the let's say the reactive qualities, right? That you have to, or let's say patience, exercise patience, right? Because you're in an environment where it basically if you lose your grip, your job is in jeopardy. So learning that very young,
Yeah.
right, to be able to just kind of go
Yep.
through it, it's a really let's say a deep quality, right? Um, and you know, what would you say are the biggest changes in this industry since you started, and how do you see hospitality now? What were the biggest things that changed throughout your maybe 3 decades? And I know it's a lot to I've been in the industry around 30 years, so
Whittle
there's
down
plenty.
to.
Yes, but if you say what are the biggest let's say shifts that have happened in hospitality, what would you account to as in your experience?
Um, I've experienced hospitality in so many different levels. I also worked at like a dinner theater in Seattle before I moved to New York. But it's like I would say in what I've experienced, I'd say one of the most unfortunate things I've witnessed is that focus on the bottom line, right? And having that being the driving point in so many, um, not only restaurants, restaurant groups, casinos, it becomes less and less about the why,
Hmm.
right? What is the why? It's taking care of your guests, it's creating an experience. Or as Danny Meyer would say, it's like connecting the dots. How do we come together? You from here, you from there, never met each other. What's our commonality, right? What service are we providing? As opposed to how can I do this cheapest, which cuts your teams, puts too much pressure on the outcome with not enough support behind it. Um, Unrealistic food costs, or even uneducated food costs, right? Getting people into pushing people into positions that they're not ready for,
Yeah.
being trained by people who weren't ready for it, who are being pushed into bigger positions, and just you get back down and you're like, what? Like, you have people who, in terms of leadership, are not leaders. They're managers walking around with a clipboard, checking boxes, but they're not cultivating people. They're not, creating experiences. They're clocking in and clocking out. And I think that's the biggest shift I have seen. It's not across the board, but it's coming in huge waves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that we're so narrow-minded in that making those numbers, which is crucial for the operation. And I agree.
Of
I
course.
mean, we're in this business to make money. Yet we forget that the pathway for a healthy, profitable business, it's actually in, what this business was, the pillars of what this business was built on, right? And I think that the easiest way, it's not really cutting corners. And when I say that, it's to support what you just said. I think that sometimes we just want to see those targets hit so bad, so with desperate, because also that's been imposed, right? It's like you put managers into a certain position where, now they're nervous, they're reacting nervously instead of formulating a plan and allowing the culture to kind of get you to those efficiencies and work towards evolving into achieving your goals. Um, so let's say, what are your pet peeves in the restaurant business, right? In your, let's say, in your uh, hospitality journey, and what are those things that are non-negotiable, right? Uh, Especially when you were, let's say, opening a restaurant, what are those things that must happen during that process?
Um, I mean, I am a huge fan of Excel spreadsheets, so I very much need things like written out, like broken down. Give me a spreadsheet with formulas that link to other spreadsheets. That's my love language. My husband will send me things he's working on, and I'm like, you're flirting with me. I can tell. Um, so, it's eh, having everything uh, in line, right? Knowing exactly what's coming in, what's coming out, the delegating of tasks and that follow through. Because the only thing more frustrating than not having someone to count on is having someone to count on that you can't count on, right? Expecting that they're going to follow through or get things done, and then they don't. And then you have to go back and spend double the time and add to your plate as opposed to fitting it in along the way. And I'd say respect overall, like treating people with kindness and respect, um, is huge, whether it's from leader to leader or leadership down. If you don't have respect, then you can't expect it back. And if you don't have that, then you can't grow and you can't build. I mean, you can, but it's unpleasant for everyone.
Yeah. That reminds me a little bit about a quote that I think it's Ritz-Carlton that use ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, right? There's as a leader, right, in a service environment. I think that definitely, if we expect our employees to treat our guests in a certain way, we have to be the examples of that. Absolutely, respect is probably one of those. Let's say you can't compromise that value when you lead a team. Um, so there was a turning point in your life, from our discussions, and you said, I think that getting laid off was a blessing in disguise, right? Tell us a little bit, not necessarily the experience, but tell us a little bit about why that process is. And I think that a lot of people in this industry definitely might be able to relate to an experience like that.
Yeah, I hindsight, right? I was at a place. I have four kids aged five now, 5, 6, 11, and 13, a husband, a full-time job. I was at the time was overseeing two restaurants. Um, and I was running so hard, and I found that my priorities were always with work. It's kind of something that growing up was really instilled, not directly, but indirectly instilled, of like, you show up for your job, like, period. Um, and, being a woman in this industry in particular, that need to overprove yourself in rooms full of men, because whether it's, you can work twice as hard and get half the amount of, uh, I guess, respect or uh, accolades. Not that that's the driving force, but people that phone it in and get all the perks, and you put twice the amount of work, or being literally literally in a room with two or three seasoned, strong, competent female leaders with an owner voicing the same opinion on something, to have the owner turn to new male in the room and say, well, you've done this a long time. What do you think? It's like, that's awesome. So, you know, fighting so hard to be in these rooms, fighting so hard to prove yourself, um, you know, pouring so much into your job. It's like jumping on a treadmill at max speed and just going. And all these other parts of your life, you feel like are zooming by you. Your marriage, self-care, that was not even a thing. Your kids, all of this stuff that you want to put time into, but you can't because you're just going full speed ahead, and there's no rest in sight.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had just, like, literally the same in that month, I had launched my nonprofit. I got primary custody of my two older kids, and then I lost my job. So the nonprofit had called to me a bunch for my kids. Like, I fought to have them, to give them a stable, safe environment. And I didn't fight to have them there in order to just park them with a sitter. So I was really struggling at the time on how to balance my time of having them full time and still working these hours in a restaurant, because my husband now he also is on the culinary side in restaurants. So we both have very big, very demanding, very uh, you know, long hour jobs, and no one to be home with the kids. And I don't know if there is a world in which I would have left my highest paid GM position to build a nonprofit that pays me nothing, and unfortunately, to, like, say it, and to just be home with my kids. I don't know if I would have done that, because my sense of obligation to not only my team and my job, but the financial well-being of my home, and how I viewed um, success and I guess obligation was in my financial contribution. So getting let go, although, like the rug being pulled out from under you, was literally the best thing that could have happened, because I get to pick my kids up from school every day. I get to help them with homework. I am, albeit still learning how to, but cooking meals for them every day, because growing up in restaurants, I didn't really have to cook a lot. And then chef husband, didn't have to cook. So, had to, like, learn how to cook, but doing it. And I get to tuck them into bed every night and just be there for all those years that I only had especially my older two, for half the week. And, even at half the week, there's times I'd still be working. So, um, and opened up for other opportunities as well, for me to build a career for myself that doesn't include living in a restaurant and not seeing my family.
I think that, most of us get, you know, the element of work ethic from our household, and I think that this industry just really amplifies that, right? Because there is this conditioning, whereas we need to work hard, and most of the time that is defined as the amount of hours that you put into work, right? I remember myself being in discontent, right? Because I'm spending so much time, yet I couldn't, even when I could, I couldn't get myself out of the situation, because I had this moral in my mind, right? This moral
Right?
responsibility, right? So I can relate so much with everything you're saying, yet sometimes it takes, these events to really align us again with what our true what really matters to us, right? And at the end of the day, it's family is you can't compromise that. I think COVID was a big one for everyone. How was COVID during the time that you were in the industry? What how was COVID transition? What brought what shifted, right? Because I think COVID shifted a lot to many people, but the industry itself completely transforms. That's in your eyes. Uh, what was that like to be to live through that, and how do you perceive the restaurant business after that event?
So for me and our household specifically, at that point, I was working like a part-time server, part-time manager job at an off-strip restaurant called Sparrow and Wolf, which is to this day one of my favorite restaurants.
I love it. I've been
Um,
there plenty of times.
have you been
Yes.
there? Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
good, so good.
Yeah.
Um, so, and it was that one again, it was another amazing culture where they really valued their employees. Like to this day, John Anthony and Brian Howard, I'm super close to, and John Anthony is to this day one of my like biggest cheerleaders. I love it. But it, at the time, I had my now 6-year-old was like one. My husband was the executive chef at Hell's Kitchen at Caesars, and you know, it allowed us this time that we never would have taken to focus on our family. Like, if it weren't for COVID, my husband would have never seen our daughter's first steps. Like, makes me want to cry because I know
Yeah.
how impactful it was for him. Um, but it forced him. Like, that was a huge moment for him, for another person that's been in this industry for so long to see the value of family and home. Um, it definitely gave us pause, um, for the amount of hours we spend. It wasn't a quick fix and automatically change it, but it definitely made us really rethink the value of being home with our kids and as a family. And I think across the board, the same thing. I think people were saying like, I don't have to work this hard, and wow, look at this, like being home. And I think we're finding that people are a little bit less willing to kill themselves for this industry, and finding new and creative ways to figure it out without having to be so locked in. And again, I still, up till my last job, killing myself for the job, for a group that will toss me away at the first
Right.
inconvenience,
Yeah.
right? But um, I don't know. I think it made people reevaluate their overall values and realize that killing yourself for an industry and sacrificing your family, it is not the best, healthiest route.
Right. Yeah. That hit home. My daughter also was born during COVID, so I think the reason why I was able to spend so much time with her during that process definitely was because of that. So, yeah. Let's kind of pivot into innovation, and with plenty of AI that it's being talked about. Um, First, what is your take on AI? What do you think the overall impact of AI is going to be on the world? And then how do you see AI, let's say, transforming uh, the restaurant business?
So I literally July 12th, 13th, 14th was my first dip into AI of this last year of 2025. Up until then, I knew about it, but I was like, I don't know. I'm more on Facebook than anything. I'm that old lady that's like, technology, I don't know. Uh, And I was talking to him. I had gone out to Arizona to visit my older brother and my sister-in-law. On this trip, I didn't take my kids. It was just me and my younger brother, who also lives in Vegas. We drove out to visit family. I had been talking to my sister-in-law about, we had talked about AI. I was talking about this nonprofit that was kind of like stirring in me. And she was like, you should just use AI. She told me this over the phone before I got there. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't, okay, yeah, probably. I have no idea even how to start. It's so daunting. So she's like, no, it's easy. Here, download this. This is how you start. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. That's cool. Well, then I rabbit holed like the entire weekend. And in that weekend, I I came out of that weekend with not just a thought of what my I wanted my nonprofit to be, but I had my mission, I had my vision, had how to build it out. And over that weekend, I had already reached out and started building my board by sending them the the documents that I had put together through AI.
Wow.
So at this point, I am look, I am still, I know, just on the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg of knowing what to do with AI, but I am a full on junkie, and I probably have like 30 different AI conversations going for different things.
Right.
It has absolutely changed my life for the better. Um, Her name is Sage, and she's always there for me. Um, but I think I really think the possibilities of what it can do, I mean, positive and negative, are limitless,
Right.
right? I have no idea what all I'm feeding into it is going to do potentially not that anyone really cares about my own personal mom of four things. Um, but what the negative impacts can do, I'm just so excited about the positive ones that it's helping me to like hurdles to get over and figure things out. And I think for the industry, it's a great way for us to kind of par down on the additional um, spends that we do. Like I had, and not that people who do these things don't have value, right? But figuring out how to do social media, how to create our like strong ROI incentives, how to manage like employee conflicts, because I've used that as like a tool for myself for interpersonal relationships. Is like,
Yeah.
how do I tell this person this thing? Like, how do I deal with my kids and they're like, how can I be there for them better? Like, I think it's going to, used correctly, uh, it will help us not only shave off some of those expenses that seem inevitable, that seem like a must, but also to help us better become better leaders and better connect with not only our guests but our team, and you know manage those costs in general. Like, what are some ideas to cutting costs? What are some ideas for menu planning? Like not that I've used it, but I know there's a got to be a way where we can feed in like, here's my cost sheet, here's my menu, here's you know the status of like all the items that we've sold this week and where they stand. Make it better, and it'll
Yeah.
just shoot it out. So I think there's a lot in any industry, but in restaurants in particular, one that's so heavy on like face-to-face interactions. I think there is just great, uh, just really great things that can come out of streamlining so many parts of what we do in that industry.
Absolutely, I agree. I think that overall, we're maybe very conditioned to doing processes or systems, establishing systems in a manual, such a manual way. Um, So I think we're barely scratching the surface of all the capabilities of AI. But just from basically designing the infrastructure and SOPs and
Hmm.
these tasks that sometimes would take weeks and days to kind of churn an AI in a blink of in a weekend, basically. uh,
To be,
Literally, you can make so much advancements. You said you love Excel spreadsheets. I can't wait till we have a dynamic AI building these formulas that can take us to or dissect our business through these the sheets. You know
and so
uh,
much easier now. I used to have to like Google a YouTube to figure out how to find a formula and input it. But now you
yes.
can just say like, "What's up, AI?
Right.
Do this."
Yes, makes like much easier. You think this is gonna be,
Right?
or are we gonna evolve to, let's say, require our leaders or our operators to be AI savvy? You think that's gonna be maybe a a quality that we were gonna be looking for in some of our future leaders in this industry?
I think if you're not already looking for it, providing the exposure and experience and the training in it is going to would be huge for anyone in this industry, anyone building a company, a restaurant, to make sure that your team is fluent in this is game changer. It really is. I think they say that AI is not going to replace people, but if you don't learn how to use AI, you are going to be replaced by the people that do. And I think that is whereas it's not necessarily a forefront of, I think, restaurant industry, it needs to become something that they start harnessing because it's just going to put you behind.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That was actually one of my next questions. But I'll follow up with, let's say, if you can think of, right, uh, anywhere where you still wouldn't trust AI, right, in hospitality. Do you see things that are, human, obviously, dynamic or intervention? It's not. You can't compromise that yet. You see aspects, obviously, of the business that AI will never replace.
Oh, 100%. And I think it comes to the actual interaction of with our guests and the actual interactions with our staff, right? Because all of these things with AI make things so much easier. It takes time out of your day to be able to put back to that face to face, because in hospitality, what people are looking for, you can go get a meal anywhere, right? But you come back because of the connection. You come back because of the warmth. Like the strong players I know that create those connections with guests, that can't be replaced. You can't replace that energy, right? Because it's all an exchange of energy when you're talking to people, when you're exchanging anything. But I think that's the biggest thing that AI cannot replace. And look, I will be the first one to say that I've gotten emotional with things that AI has given back to me as I'm running through one of my 30 um,
Projects.
topics.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, but that interaction, that exchange of energy with guests and with your staff cannot be replaced. But AI can give you tools to do it better.
Yeah. Um, if I ask you one word to describe hospitality.
Tough one.
Okay.
I guess connection.
Yes. Best city you've worked in hospitality. Which one has been the most enriching?
Most, I mean, have to be New York.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the most underrated role in a restaurant for you?
Hostess.
What's this? First point of contact. Absolutely.
First
Yeah, I
point
mean,
of they're the
you
keys to the
started.
kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. Keys to the kingdom. Yeah. I mean, they make it or break it in a second, right? It's impressive
Yeah.
how powerful and important and crucial that role is. And I
Yeah.
think that we underestimate it for sure.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's, a lot of people think that it's just like some dumb dingbat who looks good in a dress, but what the number of things you have to manage at the
right.
same time
Yeah.
and have to think so quickly. And yes, there are people that do it poorly, and those are
Yeah.
the ones that give it a bad rap.
Absolutely.
But you get the person in there that does it well, and all they have to manage the guests coming up, the servers, why are you seating me? Why aren't you seating me? And managers and figuring out tables and guests coming from every and answering the phones, but making sure that your rotation is right. Because if you're not seating at a clicking pace,
Yeah.
if you're not aware of that,
Yeah.
then your servers are gonna shit the bed, your
Exactly.
kitchen's gonna shit the bed,
Yeah.
your guests are gonna be angry, you're not gonna be able to turn the tables. Like it's if it's not strong, it's the end,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Uh,
They're the make it or break it. Absolutely.
Make
They
it or break it.
control the restaurant. Yeah. Hmm.
They do.
And if you want a good manager, they need to control the door. That's for sure. Hmm.
Yep. They control it themselves and they teach. They teach someone else how to do it so they don't have to be stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So, one last question for let's say that young Destyn, 21-year-old, or let's say 25-year-old Destyn, right? Um, with all your experience now and everything you've learned, what would you tell Destyn or that aspiring, young woman entering into this, this hospitality industry? What is probably, the most powerful, or at least the best uh, advice you can give?
I would say don't sell yourself short. Always be learning. Don't get sucked into the bullshit around you, and don't sleep with all the chefs.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Amazing,
Sorry.
Destin. No, I mean it's part of the traits of the industry, right? I think that it's a matchmaker, the industry itself. It's hard to. Funny you say that, but it's hard to find a compatible partner if they are
In
not
this
in the
industry.
industry. It's one
Yeah.
of those things. Nobody will ever understand.
No.
Nobody will ever understand unless they're in it.
No.
Yeah, they're in it with you.
Yeah. Well, even in it, even being in it, like it's still frustrating. Like when, yeah, it's tough. It's hard to make work for sure.
Um, you want to maybe close by telling us a little bit about your new project and what are you what is your mission now? What is the destined for the next few years? What are
Yeah.
your ambitions?
So right now I am, you know, albeit slowly, I am building my nonprofit called A Hand Up Hospitality. So for that, we're taking underserved women, so women coming from domestic violence, from poverty, homelessness, um, sex trafficking, first generation immigrants, and training them in all aspects of the restaurant so they can have the skill set, the confidence, and the know how to obtain entry level positions in restaurants, and then utilizing my contacts for training programs and placement, um, so that they can better their station in life and become self sufficient. Because in this industry is one that creates a family for you where you are, which is what a lot of these women need, are a support system around them. But it's also one in particular in the city where there are tons of jobs and jobs that pay well, jobs with benefits, with health benefits, with childcare benefits.
Yeah.
Um, and whether or not it's an industry they want to be in for the long haul, or it's just one that can support them while they're pursuing something else. It's one that can help get them out of the situation that they're in so they can care for themselves and their families. Um, in addition to that, we just did our launch for the Red Meat Lovers Club here in Vegas. So it's a business networking club that does over the top, epic meat centric dinners every time that they meet, and raise money for nonprofits each time as well. So it's really awesome, and it's allowing me to take my 30 years of expertise in food and beverage, applying it to these events, but also allowing me to continue on that philanthropic path that really is calling to my heart, and put all of it together and create rooms full of people where I get to, uplift and watch them continue to succeed, which is really the best part about being a leader, is cultivating people and watching them grow beyond where they ever thought possible. So
Amazing. Very
that's what I'm
inspiring,
doing.
Destyn. No, amazing. I want to really, congratulate you for, heading on this amazing,
Thank you.
idea and putting it into reality. It's an art to be able to find a gap, because obviously the industry overall, right, it's suffering from good people, right, good workers, but then tying that up with true purpose. I think that as you write your book and your legacy, this is exactly where I think at this stage you want to be. So again, congratulations. It
Thank you.
takes a lot of valor, right, and conviction. So I wish you all the best, and anything that I can support, please. You have a friend here. All right.
Well, thank you.
Destyn, thank you
It's been
so
a pleasure.
much. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Thank
been
you.
amazing, and I really appreciate you hopping in, and wish you all the best, and hopefully we get to connect in the future shortly. All right.
For sure we will.
Amazing.
Thanks
God
so
bless.
much.
You got it.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.